Good evening. Thank you. Welcome to the second annual Carol Shields Prize for Fiction Award ceremony. I'm Natasha Trethewey, and I'll be your host this evening. We're thrilled that you're here with us to celebrate these incredible writers and to honor the astonishing work of our nominees and all women and non-binary writers in Canada and the United States. But first, let us remember. We are gathering tonight in Toronto, situated on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit and Métis peoples, we acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. By making this land acknowledgement, we hope to make a small gesture towards reconciliation and to honor the long history of storytelling on this land. I am delighted now to welcome Her Worship Olivia Chow, Mayor of Toronto.
To our American friends, welcome to Toronto. We ordered a beautiful evening for you with a wonderful skyline. Yes, the announcement of the 2024 Carol Shields Prize for Fiction. Board Chair Julie Jacobson and family of the Shields family. It's wonderful to be here in support of women and non-binary writers, to raise up the voices of people who have to fight for a seat at the table through the largest literary award in the world. Yeah, for women and non-binary writers. Wow. World largest, that's something, right? And it's not just for the winner, it's also for the people that are shortlisted, with mentorship and all those important elements. Whoa. Thank you for putting this together, and thank you for BMO for your support. There's so much power in storytelling. I have a friend called Marshall Gans who teaches community organizing at Harvard Kennedy School. He tells me, he was one of the time my professor, believed that storytelling can change the world. And he writes, storytelling is how we interact with each other about values, how we share experiences with each other, counsel each other, comfort each other, and inspire each other to action. Through telling stories, you inspire people to think critically about their world, to create empathy, mutual understanding, and belonging. Those bonds are the foundation for building a better world. And do we ever need it now? Fictions allow us to imagine what kind of world we can have and be inspired to work for change. As a kid, I love reading. And you have times out, the light gets switched off. I would put my blanket over my head with a little bit of air in the side, pull out my flashlight, and continue reading. Oh, you too? Okay. My eyes are really bad. I've contact lens, progressive contact lens, but my eyes remain bad because I remain to read, not under the cover now. But recently, Kai Cheng Tom's I Hope We Choose Love. It's great. Yeah. Some of my friends love it. Margaret Atwood's Testament. Whoa. And I just recently listened to Samara Safar, A Good Wife. And I connected with that because I came from some history of understanding intimate partner violence because my mom experienced it. I love Carol Shields' books. All of them. Short story, long story, fiction, right? She finds the extraordinary in ordinary lives, seemingly ordinary lives, quiet heroes that do extraordinary heroic things and have extraordinary insights to just seemingly ordinary lives. And that perception is just incredible. She identifies core values and insights in those lives that are universal, that connects us, that anyone can connect with and understand. She captures it so well in such a Canadian way, a bit understated in some ways, but because of that, it just stay there. It just all of a sudden magically connects, right? That's why I'm so pleased to be here to welcome the shortlisted writers being honored tonight for their storytelling. Am I allowed to read their names? Yeah, allow me that? Okay. Eleanor Caden. Yeah. Kim Coleman-Foot. Yes. Vivi Ganesh Anashthan. And two Torontonians, Janika Oza and Claudia Day. Yes. Congratulations to all of you for getting this far, for inspiring us, showing us women have that possible, like all women, that is possible to lead in literature. We actually know that. We have proven it, but you continue to inspire us and show us the way. And good luck in claiming the top prize. Tonight is your night. Congratulations.
Thank you, and we are also delighted to welcome the Honorable Caroline Mulroney, MPP.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. Je suis très heureuse d'être ici pour cette deuxième édition annuelle du prix littéraire Carol Shields pour les œuvres de fiction. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight to mark the second annual Carol Shields Prize for Fiction. And I'm so pleased that you've chosen Toronto and Ontario as the place to recognize these exceptional writers. On behalf of the Government of Ontario, thank you for choosing our province to host this important celebration. I was so honored and excited when my friend Devin Connell invited me to attend this evening and then to speak. My role in the Ontario government as president of the Treasury Board could not be further away from the world of beautiful letters and arts. And so I jumped at the opportunity to be here this evening. Not just because of my job, but also for two reasons. First, I have always been a huge fan of Carol Shields. From the Stone Diaries to her beautiful short stories to Unless, I love her characters, whose lives and perspectives on the world gave her reader a better understanding of the human experience. Second, after a long day at Queen's Park reading hundreds of pages of policy, going home to a great work of fiction is just the best. And I'm not alone. Tonight, I brought with me many of the intelligent and hardworking women from my office, who, when they're not busy helping me managing $200 billion of taxpayer investment across our province, are also huge fans of fiction. And so we are all thrilled to be here tonight to celebrate the legacy of one of Canada's literary lions and the achievements of these exceptional writers. This prize will help to continue to do what Carol Shields did so well, elevate women's voices in literature. Alors encore une fois, toutes mes félicitations et je souhaite à toutes les finalistes la meilleure des chances. Congratulations again, and to all the finalists, best of luck tonight. Merci, bonsoir.
Thank you both. I am proud to support the mission of the Carol Shields Prize Foundation, which is to address the continued inequality in the literary world, especially among women and non-binary authors. We do so by awarding the annual Carol Shields Prize for Fiction, which is what we're doing tonight. The foundation also supports a range of mentorships, scholarships, fellowships, and residencies. You will hear more about these in a moment. But first, I want to recognize all of the 15 long-listed writers, some of whom are here tonight. And of course, a warm welcome to the 5 shortlisted authors, one of whom will be awarded $150,000 USD this evening. The 4 finalists will receive $12,500, all thanks to BMO Financial Group, who are generously presenting the award. So, we are proud to welcome, hold your applause till I get through it, Eleanor Catton for Birnam Wood, Claudia Day for Daughter, Kim Coleman Foote for Coleman Hill, Vivi Ganeshanathan, also known as Sugi, for Brotherless Night, and Janika Oza for A History of Burning. And our heartfelt gratitude and welcome to our 5 jury members, Layla Lalami, Claire Massoud, Dolan Perkins Valdez, Eden Robinson, and the chair, Jin Suk Fong Lee. They did some hard work, our jurors. Talented writers, all of them, and they were handpicked through a rigorous search process undertaken by our dedicated authors committee, led by Charlotte Gray and Miriam Chancy in 2022, and Marilyn Simons and Jamie Figueroa in 2023. The jurors have spent the past 12 months reading, discussing, and celebrating books written by women and non-binary writers in 2023. They have undertaken the daunting task of selecting 5 nominees from over 250 fantastic submissions. And hardest of all, they have selected one of the 5 as tonight's winner, a dream task and an extraordinary challenge. In the audience tonight, we also have many supporters of the prize, including a number of generous honorary patrons who have been critical to the launch of this prize. Thank you to each and every one of you. We would not be here today without your support. I want to take a moment to thank our lead supporters, BMO Financial Group, Pivotal Ventures, and the Tawani Foundation. We are also thankful for the support of the Flanagan Foundation. A round of applause to all of you. But this prize would not be possible without the inspiration, passion, and drive of our 3 co-founders, Susan Swan, Janice Zawerbny, and Don Oravec, our talented authors committee, and our board of directors. Our next speaker is the illustrious co-founder, Susan Swan. Susan is a novelist, journalist, activist, and teacher whose fiction has been published in 20 countries. She is best known for her novels The Biggest Woman in the World, about the giantess Anna Swan, and The Wives of Bath, a Gothic tale about a murder in a girls' boarding school. The latter was made into a feature film, Lost and Delirious, starring Misha Barton, Piper Perabo, and Jessica Paré. Swan recently received an Order of Canada for her writing and her work as co-founder of the Carol Shields Prize. Her memoir, Big Girls Don't Cry, will be published in the spring of 2025 by HarperCollins. Now, Susan Swan will tell you a bit about the history of the prize.
It's wonderful to be here tonight with all of you. In 2012, like most people who knew about international literary stars, such as Alice Munro and the late Toni Morrison, I thought women's writing was killing it. I was planning to say so that year at a panel at the Vancouver Writers' Festival, which was reporting on the progress of women's writing. But when I told the novelist Jane Urquhart, who is here somewhere tonight, what I was going to do, she said in that sort of understated way we Canadians have, I don't think things are so great, Sue, for women writers. Why don't you research the stats on the Nobel Prize for Literature? I didn't know then what Jane already knew, namely that despite the success of some writers like Alice Walker, Margaret Atwood, and Carol Shields, the work of women authors was still valued less than the writing by men. I did my research, and in 2012, I was able to tell my Vancouver audience that in both Canada and the US, women authors won a third of the literary prizes and received a third of the coverage for their books in magazines and newspapers. And although they published roughly the same number of books as men, women in 2012 earned 45% less. There were gasps and despairing groans from the large Vancouver audience of mostly women. In her book, The Authority Gap, M.A. Seagard says men consciously or unconsciously don't accord as much authority to books by women, or they make the assumption that women's books aren't for them. According to Seagard, men read only 19% of the top 10 best-selling female authors, while 45% of women and 55% of men read the top 10 best-selling male authors. After the Vancouver panel, Toronto editor Janice Sawardny, who's one of the co-founders, told me she was going to start a literary prize for women. And I said, if you do, I'll help you. Those are really fateful words. The former head of the Writers' Trust of Canada, Dawn Oravac, joined us a week later. In the spring of 2014, Roxana Robinson, novelist and former president of the American Authors Guild, and Noreen Tomasi, founding director of Brooklyn Center for Fiction, became involved. Since women in both countries had the same problem, we felt we could be stronger together. Our group persevered over the next decade without private money, and gradually, supporters and financial patrons from American and Canadian cities came on board. And that's how a small group of determined women and one feminist man started from scratch the largest fiction prize in the world for women and non-binary authors. The prize celebrates the brilliance of women's writing. When people ask, why is it so much money? I tell them, because women writers are worth it. Thank you. And thanks to initiatives like ours, I'm thrilled to say that women writers have recently been winning more literary prizes and selling more books. We named the prize after Carol Shields, who is beloved in both countries, the author of more than 20 books, and the winner of both the Pulitzer Prize and the Governor General's Award for the Stone Diaries. Carol believed in writing away the invisibility of women's lives. Inspired by her example, we want to support women writers and non-binary authors at every stage of their career. If you haven't read the short list yet, you must. the three of us, Dawn Oravak, myself, and Janice Sawardny, we agree that we don't know how the jury is going to pick a winner from this year's stellar list of 5 super talented authors. I knew Carol Shields, and like everybody else, I loved her. And I can say with confidence that she would be very proud of the brilliant writing in your books. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Next, I'd like to introduce someone who's going to come up and tell us a bit about our programming. Myriam Chancy's most recent novel is Village Weavers, Tin House 2024. Her 2021 novel, What Storm, What Thunder, was named a Best Book of the Year by NPR, Kirkus, Library Journal, the Boston Globe, and the Globe and Mail, and was awarded the American Book Award from the Before Columbus Foundation. Her other novels include The Loneliness of Angels, Scorpion's Claw, and Spirit of Haiti. She has published 5 academic books, including Harvesting Haiti, Reflections on Unnatural Disasters, and she is a Guggenheim Fellow and the HBA Chair of the Humanities at Scripps College in California. Please join me in welcoming Myriam Chancy.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir, bonsoir. Thank you, Natasha, for that introduction. In addition to the prize, the Carol Shields Prize Foundation celebrates and supports creativity and excellence in the literary arts by women and non-binary writers in the United States and Canada in all stages of their careers through a number of mentorships, scholarships, and residencies. Some of our mentees, as we call them, are here tonight, and I hope you'll get a chance to meet them when we celebrate afterwards. First, we welcome Sana Jabber, the inaugural recipient of a Carol Shields Prize Foundation Fellowship at Diaspora Dialogues. Is Sana here? Could maybe wave if I call your name. Which is awarded to a refugee or new immigrant to Canada. Sana is an award-winning filmmaker and writer whose work explores womanhood, motherhood, and displacement. Many thanks to the M.A. Ferris Foundation for supporting this fellowship. We also welcome Helen Walsh, our partner at Diaspora Dialogues. We're also proud to offer a fellowship in partnership with the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The fellowship supports a woman or non-binary BIPOC writer from the US or Canada enrolled in the creative writing program to support their junior and senior years of study. The inaugural recipient of the fellowship is Sarah Camille Chiago, who I know is here. Let's applaud for her. We are also thrilled to welcome Chantal Rondeau this evening. Chantal was the first recipient of the Carol Shields Prize Foundation Scholarship for Indigenous Women and Non-Binary Writers at the Tin House Summer Workshop in Portland, Oregon. Chantal hopes to tell stories that shift perceptions and lead to a global understanding of modern-day Indigenous people. We can clap for her. She is here tonight. The Jim Polk Carol Shields Prize Foundation Scholarship in Creative Writing supports a woman or non-binary writer in the Master of Arts in Creative Writing program here at the University of Toronto. We have 2 recipients with us here tonight. This year's awardee, Janelle Brown, a Vicintian writer and poet who has been writing since the age of 11, and poet Salima Turkmani McDonald, originally from New Brunswick, was the 2023 recipient. We can clap for them, they are both here. Many thanks to Jim Polk for his generosity in supporting this scholarship, and many thanks to our partners at the University of Toronto, represented here today by Professor Ian Williams. The foundation also offers a month-long residency with historic Joy Kogawa House in Vancouver. The first recipient of the residency was Lisa Bird Wilson, I think whose name is very familiar to many of us here, who used the time to further a literary project. We also partner with Hedgebrook, where we support a residency at the Hedgebrook Retreat on Whidbey Island in Washington. We are so pleased to welcome Hedgebrook Executive Director Kimberly A.C. Wilson to Toronto. So let's clap for Kimberly. And finally, we are pleased to let you know that tonight's winner will be offered a full board stay for up to 5 nights at Fogo Island Inn, an award-winning retreat off the coast of Newfoundland. Special thanks to Zita Cobb for her generosity, and welcome to our guests here today from Fogo Island Inn. So more partnerships are to come, so keep an eye on the Carol Shields Prize social media and website for new announcements as they are unveiled. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Miriam. I know that one of the inspirations behind the Carol Shields Prize is financial support for women and non-binary writers. As Susan said, they're worth it. Through the prize and our programs, we aim to radically transform their economic circumstances. And so I want to speak for a moment personally about the importance of literary prizes to a writer and why this prize is so important. 25 years ago, poets Toy Darracott and Cornelius Eady established the Cave Canem Foundation and the Cave Canem Poetry Prize for the best first book by an African-American poet. Rita Dove selected my collection, Domestic Work, for the inaugural prize. It was at a moment in which the landscape of American poetry looked very different than it does now. Before the establishment of the Cave Canem Prize, Black poets had only won the Pulitzer Prize 3 times in its history since the prize was first awarded in poetry in 1918. Gwendolyn Brooks in 1950, Rita Dove in 1987, and Yusuf Komunyakaa in 1994. That's only 3 in 76 years. Since 1999, just 25 years ago when the first Cave Canem Prize was awarded, African-American poets have won the Pulitzer Prize 6 times, double the amount from the previous 3/4 of a century. The simple yet brilliant act of creating a prize to uplift the voices of writers who have been frequently marginalized or overlooked by the dominant literary establishment has transformed and enriched American literature. That's because prizes like this open up avenues for new, diverse, and dynamic voices, bringing them to the attention of wider audiences. I credit that pivotal moment with the launch and trajectory of my own career. This is why the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction, honoring the work of women and non-binary writers, is utterly necessary, not just for the writers themselves, but for all of us as readers. Our shortlisted writers from last year also found the experience transformative. Daphne Palasi Andreadis, author of Brown Girls, shortlisted in 2023, has said, "Being a finalist for the Carol Shields Prize has further cemented in my mind the importance of telling stories as an artist and as a woman. This prize has helped me trust my voice more for all my future works. I feel immense gratitude to the people I have met here." Talia Lakshmi Kalluri, author of What We Fed to the Manticore, shortlisted in 2023, says that being a finalist for the inaugural Carol Shields Prize for Fiction stands out as transformative. I never expected my book to receive this level of recognition and to see it embraced with such care and generosity by the foundation, the judges, and my fellow finalists. It was an overwhelmingly uplifting experience. 2023 Carol Shields Prize for Fiction winner Fatima Asghar said, "The Carol Shields Prize was truly a life-changing moment for me. There's a particular femme way of loving that was palpable in all stages of the award process, an emphasis on collectivity and community rather than competition and rivalry. This isn't what award should be, a moment of gathering, of redefining the industry, and ultimately of rooting for each other, always." And now, back to the reason we're all here tonight. Please take a look at our video introduction of the 5 books shortlisted for the 2024 Carol Shields Prize for Fiction.
My name's Eleanor Catton. I'm the author of Burnham Wood. So the book follows an activist collective, which is kind of broadly anti-capitalist in their worldview, who go by the name of Burnham Wood, and they are guerrilla gardeners who move around the South Island of New Zealand, planting gardens in neglected spaces and sometimes engaging in kind of mild criminal activity. One of the reasons that horticulture held such strong appeal for Mira was that it offered her a respite from this habit of relentless interior critique. When she made things grow, she experienced a kind of manifest forgiveness, an abiding moving on and making new that she found impossible in almost every other sphere of life. The book is set in New Zealand, where I grew up, and at the time when I was writing it, the borders were closed because of the COVID pandemic. A certain kind of distance can be quite helpful, actually. It can clarify your own feelings about a place, but also kind of mystify them in a sense.
My name is Claudia Day, and I am the author of the novel Daughter. Daughter is about a young woman named Mona Dean. She's an actress and a playwright, long caught in her famous father's web, striving to make a life and art of her own. The only time I get to be close to my father is when he is betraying his life. When my father is not betraying his life, I hardly hear from him. So whenever my father, Paul, texts to say that he needs me and can we get together, it's urgent, my husband will caution, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" And leaving the apartment, I answer, "But he is my father." I felt like the father-daughter relationship was so under scrutinized. We really save that scrutiny in art for our mothers.
My name is Kim Coleman Foote, and Coleman Hill is my debut novel. Coleman Hill is inspired by my real-life family, their great migration journey coming up from Alabama and Florida to suburban New Jersey, and it also talks about their trials and tribulations in the North, which wasn't quite the promised land for them. As me and Cleveland pulled away from Waldorf Place, all I could think about was how twisted it was, Bertha naming them kids after her favorite movie stars. 'Cause they life sure enough wasn't no Hollywood picture. They mama wasn't there to raise them. They daddy ain't rest his head at home. They grandma doled out more cusses than kisses. And now that I couldn't steal them away, there wasn't much chance of their story having a happy ending. But if there was anything in my power that I could do, I was gonna work my damnedest to show them that love, whatever it was, don't gotta hurt. It wasn't until I was in my MFA program and I had an assignment to write a story based on a family photograph that the book came to be, because I chose a photograph of my grandfather's 3 sisters as little girls, and one of them literally spoke to me, and that was the beginning.
I'm Vivi Ganeshananthan, also known as Sugi, the author of Brotherless Night. Brotherless Night is told from the point of view of a woman in her middle age who is living in New York in 2009 as the Sri Lankan Civil War is ending. And she is recalling, from the point of view of kind of long retrospection, her teenage years at the beginning of the Sri Lankan Civil War. We were civilians first. You must understand that word, terrorist, is too simple for the history we have lived. Too simple for me. Too simple even for this man. How could one word be enough? But I am going to say it anyway, because it is the language you know, and it will help you to understand who we were, what we were called, and who we have truly become. The Sri Lankan Civil War, its narratives have been so contested and debated, even on the most basic factual levels. I had to kind of get a mastery of the facts, and also wanted to write a character who would convey them.
My name is Janika Oza, and my novel is called A History of Burning. A History of Burning is about 4 generations of one Indo-Ugandan family across about 100 years and multiple forced migrations and lands. Her first child was born to rain, mvua. In Swahili, the word lacked the softness of its Gujarati counterpart, the hushed sounds that mimicked raindrops on hot stone, though perhaps it was not a fault of the language, but of her own lack of fluency, the new words falling heavy and malformed from her tongue. It's a novel about complicity and resistance. It's about the lengths that we are willing to go for the people we love.
I did not expect to be nominated, no. It was a beautiful surprise.
It was a complete surprise to be nominated, and I was totally ecstatic, especially to be in the company of such other amazing women writers.
I did not expect to be nominated for the Shields Prize. I feel like it's impossible to expect such a stroke of luck.
To be nominated for an award named after such an incredible, inspirational author, it just means so much.
She was a really central figure for me in the wilds of my apprenticeship as a writer, so it's a huge honor.
I was thrilled. I often think about the fact that the majority of readers of novels these days tend to be women, and yet the coverage and the kind of the seriousness with which women's minds are treated we still have a long way to go.
Hi, friends. Is anyone else emotional? I'm just crying over there. Good evening. My name is Jen Suk Fong Lee, and it was my great honor to serve this past year as the jury chair for the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction. Actually, until the winner is announced, I am still the jury chair, and you can address me as such. Madam Jury Chair. Sounds good, right? Yeah. Anyway, as we know, the prize is open to novels, graphic novels, and short story collections by women and non-binary writers from the US and Canada. It's an extraordinary thing, actually, to serve on this jury, to take in the full spectrum of what women and non-binary writers are doing, and to really celebrate when those writers get to write what they want, however they want, which is something that we can't take for granted. The submissions were amazing, a collection of remarkable and incendiary works of fiction, books that truly represent the stories that need to be told, the stories we haven't heard before, and the stories that will lead us forward. It was such a joy to read these works alongside my fellow jury members, Layla Lalami, Claire Massoud, Dolan Perkins Valdez, and Eden Robinson, and I want to thank you for your work. I want to thank you for the joy it was to work with you. I will say, like, when the news came out that I was on this jury, I got 2 questions. The first question was, have you seen the movie American Fiction? And the second question was, are the meetings just like that? And I wish I had yelled at Eden or something, but no, it didn't happen. We were very peaceful and actually quite efficient, and it was delightful, and they're my friends, so it's great. The jury will now introduce all 5 of the shortlisted writers and books in alphabetical order. It means nothing. It is only alphabetical order. We'll call each of the authors up after we read your citation, and you will come up on stage and receive a lovely gift. So I am introducing, I already read it. I am introducing Eleanor Catton's Birnam Wood. Eleanor Catton is the author of the international bestseller Birnam Wood, which was also shortlisted for the Scotiabank Giller Prize. Eleanor also wrote The Luminaries, winner of the Man Booker Prize and the Governor General's Literary Award for Fiction. As a screenwriter, she adapted The Luminaries for television and Jane Austen's Emma for feature film. Born in London, Ontario, and raised in New Zealand, she now lives in Cambridge, England. Eleanor, about your book, Birnam Wood, the jury wrote, Shakespearean in its ambition, with a large cast of characters, Birnam Wood manages to be both a nuanced psychological novel and a cultural satire of New Zealand's contemporary contradictions, tackling climate change, environmental activism, and the fatal inequities of late capitalism. Eleanor Catton is a superlative prose stylist. Her sentences exhilarate and delight, witty, often scathing, and painfully emotionally accurate. This brilliant novel surprises to the last. Eleanor, please join me on stage.
Bonsoir et merci d'être ici. Good evening and thank you all so much for being here. My name is Leila Al-Alami and it's my great pleasure to introduce Claudia Day's novel, Daughter, a national bestseller named the New York Times Fall Fiction Pick, an Elle Magazine Book of the Year, and a Globe and Mail Best Book. Claudia Day is also the author of Heartbreaker, a Northern Lit and Trillium Book Award finalist currently being adapted for television. Her plays have been produced internationally and nominated for the Governor General's Dora and Trillium Book Awards. Day has worked as a film actress, a guest artist at the National Theatre School, and an adjunct professor at the University of Toronto. Claudia, about your book, Daughter, the jury wrote, Daughter is a literary stick of dynamite, incendiary and exposing painful truths about art, family, and systemic inequities. Claudia Day writes about the fraught relationship between a woman and her novelist father as she tries to build her own creative career in his shadow. Both a study of intimate manipulations and the trope of the male genius, Daughter is a novel that ricochets between uncomfortable emotions and social constructs with fearlessness and intent. Please join me on stage.
Good evening. My name is Claire Massoud, and it is my pleasure, my great pleasure, to introduce Kim Coleman Foote's novel, Coleman Hill. Kim was born and raised in New Jersey, where she started writing fiction at the age of 7-ish. A recent fellow at the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown, she's received additional fellowships from the NEA, the NYFA, Breadloaf, Phillips Exeter Academy, the Center for Fiction, and Fulbright, and residencies at Yaddo, MacDowell, and Hedgebrook, among others. Her fiction and essays have appeared widely in journals and reviews. Coleman Hill is her first book. Kim, about your book, Coleman Hill, the jury wrote, Coleman Hill reveals with extraordinary depth the journey of two families from the South to the North and their interwoven stories of pain, loss, and triumph. Pushing the narrative boundaries of fiction and family memoir, Kim Coleman Foote writes in the tradition of biomythography, a word coined by the late American poet and essayist Audre Lorde. Yet Kim Coleman Foote also claims new literary territory for how to piece together the fragments of the past. Formally inventive and emotionally captivating, this brilliant accomplishment will take its place among the best of its generation. Please join me on the stage.
Good evening. My name is Dolan Perkins Valdez, and it is my pleasure to introduce Brotherless Night by V.V. Ganeshanathan, also known as Sugi. As well as Brotherless Night, V.V. Ganeshanathan is the author of Love Marriage, which was longlisted for the Women's Prize and named one of the best books of the year by the Washington Post. Sugi is presently a member of the boards of the American Institute for Sri Lankan Studies and the Minnesota Prison Writing Workshop, and teaches in the MFA program at the University of Minnesota. Sugi, about your book, Brotherless Night, the jury wrote, an ambitious and beautifully written novel. Brotherless Night explores how ordinary people can be swept up in political violence and despite their best efforts, eventually be swallowed by it. Through her sensitively crafted characters, V.V. Ganeshanathan asks us to consider how history is told, whom it serves, and the many truths it leaves out. A magnificent book. Please join me on stage.
Bonjour, Sego. My name is Eden Robinson, and it's my pleasure to introduce Janika Oza's A History of Burning. Winner of the 2024 Asian Pacific American Award for Literature, a finalist for the 2023 Governor General's Award for Fiction, and a New York Times Editor's Choice. Janika Oza is the winner of a 2022 O. Henry Award and the 2020 Kenyon Review Short Fiction Award. She lives in Toronto. Janika, about your book, A History of Burning, the jury wrote. Janika Oza boldly navigates her remarkable symphonic debut through a century of displacement of 4 generations of an extended Indo-Ugandan family. A History of Burning transmutes these sweeping moments of history into a nuanced and layered tale of loss, rage, and transcendence, with its unflinching gaze and layered landscapes to ultimately create a heartbreaking and joyous portrait of a family that has kept each other alive with stories. Please join me on stage.
All right, thanks so much to our fantastic judges, Jen, Layla, Claire, Dolan, and Eden, and congratulations to the shortlisted writers. Now the moment has come to announce the winner of the 2024 Carol Shields Prize for Fiction. And so I'd like to welcome Kimberly Good from BMO Financial Group to the stage to make this exciting presentation.
Well, good evening, everyone, and what a night this has already been. And I'm sure you ladies would like for me to take a long time and go through a bunch of remarks before we get to the good news. I promise I won't do but a few. So first, I want to say on behalf of all of my colleagues from BMO, we are so honored to be here to celebrate both the powerful and beautiful words and stories that you have developed, along with the amazing and powerful actions of this foundation to really begin to close gaps. We are so honored to be here to show our support for the incredible women and non-binary writers and to deliver the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction to one of you talented authors. Now, I personally am so gratified to be here because I love books, as you've heard many say tonight. I love stories, and I'm proud to be able to be a storyteller in my corporate life, though not fiction. I have to keep it to the facts. This award is important to BMO because it seeks to level the playing field for women in the ecosystem of literary awards. And we don't do things small, we go bold, and that's why you've heard it said, but I want to say it one more time. We are so proud to be offering the largest monetary prize for women and non-binary authors in the world. That is good stuff. Now, why does BMO do this? We do this because we believe in the purpose of the mission. We believe in celebrating excellence. We believe in closing gaps. We believe in advancing equity. All of this aligns with our purpose, which is to boldly grow the good in business and in life. And we do that by striving to partner with organizations like the Foundation to build an inclusive society and address the barriers that get in the way of a more equitable world. So like others, I want to congratulate all of our finalists tonight. You have created some amazing stories. I want to thank the dedicated jury for your work to review all of the 250 submissions and everyone who has supported this work. As you heard earlier, we're very proud that everybody is going to get an award tonight. So 4 of our 5 incredible finalists will receive $12,500 to support your work. And of course, our grand prize winner will receive a residency at Fogo Island Inn, as you heard, and a cool $150,000 prize. That is awesome. So now, I actually don't know who the winner is, so this is very, very exciting. And in this envelope, I actually have the winner. And I am so excited to be able to do this. And tonight's winner, the 2024 prize winner, is Brotherless Night, Vivi Ganeshanathan. Congratulations, and please join me on the stage.
Wow. I have 2 minutes to say so many things. And I want to thank, first and foremost, the amazing people who have hosted us this weekend. You can see what an enormous amount of work goes into an event like this, and we have had such a remarkable weekend. So just thank you so much to the Carol Shields Prize for having us here, for having us together. To get to spend this kind of time with the other writers has been amazing. And thank you so much to the judges, the staff, the board of the Carol Shields Prize, this room full of supporters, and I am so happy to be in Toronto. My first novel was set partly here, and I've spent a lot of time here, so it's really special to be in Canada and to be honored with a prize that unites American and Canadian writers. I'm sorry that I don't speak French. I want to thank my publishers, Penguin Random House, who published me in the US and in Canada, my editors, Caitlin McKenna and Isabel Wall, and my wonderful, wonderful agent, Stephanie Cabot, who does speak French, and who is here this evening. Thank you, Stephanie, for coming. Brotherless Night is a feminist novel set during the Sri Lankan Civil War. And it's especially meaningful to have it recognized by a prize that highlights work by women and non-binary writers. I remember reading Carol Shields as a young writer. I read her work at a formative moment, and its intimacy and scope was really astonishing to me. It means so much to me to be honored with the prize in her name, and she wrote about war too. An early chapter of the Stone Diaries covers World War I, which was then known as the Great War because there was only one. She wrote, "We say a war is ended by a surrender, an armistice, a treaty, but really it just wears itself out, is no longer its own recompense, seems suddenly ignoble, part of the vast discourtesy of the world." Brotherless Night is from the first-person point of view of a middle-aged woman, a doctor who belongs to the ethnic Tamil minority, who recalls her teenage years and young adulthood in northern Sri Lanka during the first decade of that country's civil war. I could not have written it without the generosity and kindness of the many people I know who lived through those years, many of whom live here in Toronto. This recognition, which comes in the week that is the 15th anniversary of the end of the war, I'm sorry, is dedicated to them, to the people struggling to remember in the face of repression at the hands of those who would rather that they not. And of course, to civilians everywhere enduring violence. I've named Sri Lanka. I also want to name Gaza. I want to say that there are civilians in so many places, in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Sudan, and I can't name all of the places. I want to say that I know that these places are neither the beginning nor the end of the work that awaits us, and books are part of that work too. And from the stories I've been privileged to hear about Carol Shields this weekend from those who knew her and worked with her and read her and loved her, it seems like she believed that too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sugi, for those beautiful remarks, and congratulations again. Now I'd like to welcome Board Chair Julie Jacobson to the stage.
Congratulations, Sugi! And congratulations to all of you. I don't know how the jury was able to choose. I not only read all your books, I read the whole long list, and it was an incredible batch of books this year. So proud of all of you. Thank you. I know I stand between you and the party, so I'll be brief. But I just want to take a moment to thank a few people. We're in this room full of amazing authors, which, you know, to me is way better than the Academy Awards, to be in a room full of authors. And so many of them have had their biographies, and we haven't had a chance to tell you about our host, Natasha Trethewey. So I want to thank my fellow Chicagoan and fellow board member, Natasha, for hosting so beautifully. Where did you go, Natasha? Oh, you moved. And you can read her whole bio in the program, but you should know she was a two-time Poet Laureate of the United States and has won probably as many awards as everybody in this room put together. She's incredible, and we're just thrilled that she was able to host for us tonight. Thank you. I also want to thank our event committee led by our co-chairs, Linda Haynes and Devin Connell. Can you stand up? I see Devin. Linda, where are you? Oh, here, if you could stand, please. They put so much time, along with their committee, into planning this beautiful event. We are so grateful. Thank you very much. Also, our fantastic staff, led by Alex Scotchless, Emily Kellogg, and Natalia Afonso, who have put endless hours into translating our dreams and aspirations into reality. We really wouldn't be here without you. Special thanks to all the hardworking board of directors from both the United States and Canada, and to our co-founders, Susan, Janice, and Don. Everybody keeps moving, so I can't. I'd like to thank the Carol Shields family for their support. Two of the Carol Shields daughters are here. I don't see where you're sitting. Three. Are you all, if you can wave so we all know where you are. And also, I think we have a niece, some grandchildren. Carol's daughter, Ann Giardini, was actually one of our original board members and has been a huge supporter in every way. Luckily for her, unluckily for us, she's in Italy tonight. But she wishes she could be here with us to celebrate. We want to thank all of our supporters. This room is full of you. This prize is not endowed yet, and we rely on generous corporate, foundation, and individual annual contributions to keep the prize and our programs running. Gifts and sponsorships of all kinds are welcome, including named endowments, and tax receivable donations are available in both sides of the border. We're also happy to talk about legacy giving, and if you look at our website, you can see easy opportunities to support us, and feel free to talk to myself or any of our board members. We all have little tags, or Alex, our executive director. As my husband David says, at every political fundraisers we have, operators are standing by. A simple way you can help us is to share your photos tonight on social media, tag the Carol Shields Prize on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, or whatever social media you use. And if you're not already, please sign up to be on our mailing list. A couple of notes. Another Story Bookshop is here. You probably saw on your way in, selling books. We encourage you to buy long-listed, short-listed books, and you can find the authors and get them signed. We're grateful to Another Story, Indigo Books, Type Books, Ben McNally Books, and independent booksellers across the United States and Canada who are helping to further our mission by highlighting the Carol Shields finalists. Finally, thanks to all of you for coming tonight, and we look forward to welcoming you in Chicago in May of 2025. Now, let's party.